Fear is a part of life. It's woven into the human experience, and no matter who you are, where you come from, or what you've achieved, you're going to face it. Yet, most people have a huge misconception about fear. They believe that they need to wait for it to disappear before they can take action. They think they'll be able to move forward once they're no longer scared, or once they feel ready, but let me tell you something, if you're waiting for fear to magically vanish, you'll be waiting forever. Fear isn't going anywhere, and the sooner you realize that, the sooner you can start living the life you're meant to live. One of the most liberating truths I ever learned is that fear is always going to be there. It's not something you can outrun, outthink, or outmaneuver. It's wired into your brain as part of your survival instinct. Fear evolved to keep us safe from threats, but in the modern world, it often keeps us stuck. We're not being chased by predators anymore, but fear still kicks in when we face uncertainty, change, or the possibility of failure. And instead of protecting us, it stops us from pursuing the things we really want. Here's where people get stuck. They feel fear and assume it's a sign to stop, to wait, to hold off until they feel more confident or more prepared. They tell themselves, I'll go for it when I'm not scared anymore. But here's the kicker, you're never going to feel ready. There's never going to be a perfect moment where fear magically disappears, where you wake up one day and feel completely fearless, like you've got it all figured out. That moment doesn't exist. Fear is a companion on the journey. It's always going to show up when you step outside your comfort zone, and if you let it control you, you'll never move forward. Think about how many things in your life you've put off because you were waiting to feel less scared. Maybe you've been dreaming about starting a business, changing careers, or going after a big goal, but every time you think about it, fear steps in and you hesitate. What if I fail? What if people laugh at me? What if I'm not good enough? Those what ifs are fear's favorite weapon, and they keep you trapped in inaction. Here's what I need you to understand. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is feeling the fear and moving forward anyway. The most successful people in the world, the ones you admire, the ones who seem fearless, they're not fearless. They feel the same fear you do. The difference is they've learned to act in spite of it. They don't wait for the fear to go away because they know it never will. Instead, they take action while fear is still there, whispering in their ear. And the more they act, the quieter that voice becomes. So how do you do that? How do you move when fear is screaming at you to stay put? It comes down to one simple thing: action. Action is the antidote to fear. When you act, even in the smallest way, you disrupt the grip that fear has on you. Fear thrives on inaction. The more you sit there thinking about what scares you, the stronger fear gets. It feeds on your hesitation. But the moment you take even a tiny step forward, fear loses its power. This is where the 5-second rule comes in. The 5-second rule is a tool I created to help you move when fear wants to keep you stuck. Here's how it works the next time you feel fear stopping you from doing something you know you need to do. Count backward from 5, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then move. Don't give your brain time to talk you out of it. Don't give fear time to settle in. Just count down and take action. Why does this work? It works because it interrupts the habit of hesitation. You see, when you hesitate, your brain has time to engage in overthinking. It starts coming up with all the reasons why you shouldn't take action, why you're not ready, why it's better to wait. Your brain is incredibly good at coming up with excuses, and fear loves to feed those excuses. But when you count down and move, you bypass that part of your brain. You don't give fear the chance to take over. You go straight from thought to action. Now, let's be real, this doesn't mean fear goes away entirely. It will still be there. You'll still feel that flutter in your stomach, that tightening in your chest. But when you take action, you prove to yourself that fear doesn't control you. You're in control. Every time you act in spite of fear, you're building a new habit, a habit of courage. And the more you do it, the stronger that habit becomes. Soon you'll find that fear's voice isn't as loud anymore. It's still there, but it doesn't stop you like it used to. I want you to think about a time when fear held you back. Maybe it was a job opportunity, a conversation you needed to have, or a personal goal you were scared to go after. What would have happened if, instead of waiting for the fear to disappear, you had just moved? How different could your life be right now if you had taken that first step, even with the fear still there? Here's the thing, most of the time, the fear we feel is far worse than the reality. Our brains are wired to catastrophize, to imagine the worst possible outcomes. But in most cases, those outcomes never happen. The failure you're so scared of? It's not nearly as bad as you think. The judgment you're worried about? It's not going to destroy you. But the longer you wait, the bigger fear becomes in your mind. It grows, it multiplies, and it starts to control every decision you make. So stop waiting for the fear to go away. It's not going anywhere. But that doesn't mean you're stuck. You can feel the fear, acknowledge it, and still move forward. The secret to killing fear is action small, consistent actions that chip away at its power. The more you move, the less fear controls you. And eventually, you'll realize that fear was never as powerful as you thought. It's just a feeling, and feelings don't have to stop you from living the life you want. So the next time fear shows up, remember this: you don't need to be fearless to act. You just need to be willing to take the first step. 5 seconds is all it takes to move from hesitation to action. 5 seconds is all it takes to take control back from fear. 5 seconds can change everything. Fear and excitement are more similar than you think. In fact, they're almost the same thing in your body. Think about it for a second. When you're scared, what happens? Your heart races. Your palms get sweaty. Maybe your stomach does flips. Now think about when you're excited, what do you feel? A racing heart, sweaty palms, butterflies in your stomach. The physical sensations of fear and excitement are nearly identical. So what's the difference? It's how you interpret those sensations in your mind. The secret to reframing fear is recognizing that it's often excitement in disguise. When we feel fear, it's easy to think something is wrong, that we're in danger, or that we should avoid whatever is causing that feeling. But that's not always true. Fear often arises when we're about to do something big, something that could change our lives. It shows up when we're stepping outside our comfort zone, taking risks, or going after something we really want. And here's the thing: just because you feel fear doesn't mean you're in actual danger. Your brain can't always tell the difference between real threats and perceived threats. It's up to you to reframe what's happening and take control of how you respond to those feelings. When you experience those physical symptoms, racing heart, sweaty palms, butterflies, it's important to pause and ask yourself, is this fear or is this excitement? 9 times out of 10, it's a mix of both. Your brain might be telling you it's fear because you're venturing into the unknown, but if you dig deeper, you'll realize that a big part of what you're feeling is excitement. Excitement for the possibilities. Excitement for the opportunity. Excitement for what's on the other side of that fear. Here's where the magic happens. You get to choose how you interpret those sensations. You get to decide whether that racing heart means I'm terrified and I should back off, or I'm thrilled and ready to take this on. The key to reframing fear is recognizing that your body's physiological response to fear can actually be a signal that you're about to do something exciting, something meaningful. You're not scared, you're pumped. You're not shrinking away, you're stepping up. One of the most powerful techniques to reframe fear as excitement is to change the language you use with yourself. Instead of saying, I'm so scared, say, I'm so excited. Instead of thinking, I don't know if I can do this, shift to, this is going to be an amazing opportunity. Language matters because the words we use shape our reality. When you reframe fear as excitement, you're telling your brain that what you're about to do is not something to avoid, but something to embrace. Let's break this down. Say you're about to give a big presentation. You feel your heart start to race, your hands get clammy, and suddenly your mind is flooded with thoughts like, what if I mess up? What if I forget my words? What if I forget my words? What if everyone thinks I'm terrible? That's fear talking. It's your brain's way of trying to protect you from potential failure or embarrassment. But what if, instead of spiraling into self-doubt, you reframed those feelings? What if you took a deep breath and told yourself, I'm excited about this. This is an incredible chance to share my ideas. I'm ready for this. When you make that mental shift, everything changes. You still feel the same sensations in your body. Your heart is still racing, but instead of interpreting them as signs that you're going to fail, you start to see them as signs that you're about to step into something important. You start to embrace the adrenaline, the energy, and the possibility that comes with taking risks. You recognize that those feelings aren't there to stop you, they're there to fuel you. The reason this works is because your brain can't tell the difference between fear and excitement unless you give it direction. It's a bit like standing at a crossroads. One path is labeled fear and leads to hesitation, procrastination, and playing small. The other path is labeled excitement and leads to action, growth, and stepping into your potential. The sensations are the same at the crossroads, but you get to choose which path to take. You can choose to let fear hold you back, or you can choose to reframe it and let excitement propel you forward. Another way to reframe fear is to view it as a sign that you're on the right track. If you're not feeling any fear, it might mean you're not challenging yourself enough. You're staying in your comfort zone where everything is predictable and safe. But growth doesn't happen in comfort zones. It happens when you push yourself beyond what's familiar, when you take risks, and when you go after things that truly matter to you. Fear is often a sign that you're on the edge of something important, something transformative. Now, I'm not saying you should ignore fear entirely. Fear has its place. It's there to keep us safe from real danger. But most of the fear we experience in daily life isn't about physical safety. It's about the fear of failure, rejection, or the unknown. And that kind of fear, that's the fear you need to reframe as excitement. When you do, you'll start to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You'll start to feel energized instead of paralyzed. And most importantly, you'll start taking action on the things that matter most to you. Let's talk about another example: starting a new project or pursuing a big goal. Maybe you've been dreaming about launching a business, writing a book, or taking a bold step in your career. But every time you think about it, fear creeps in. What if it doesn't work? What if I'm not good enough? What if I fail? That fear can be crippling if you let it. But remember, the same physical sensations you're experiencing could easily be interpreted as excitement. Excitement for the challenge, excitement for the chance to create something meaningful, excitement for the unknown journey ahead. The next time fear shows up, I want you to do something different. Instead of trying to avoid it or waiting for it to disappear, lean into it. Acknowledge it, but then ask yourself, how can I turn this fear into excitement? Think about the possibilities, the potential, and the opportunities that lie on the other side of that fear. Let that excitement fuel you. Fear and excitement are two sides of the same coin, and the secret to killing fear is learning to flip that coin. The next time you feel those butterflies in your stomach or your heart starts racing, remember this: you're not scared, you're excited. You're excited about the opportunity in front of you, and you're ready to take it on. Fear might always be there, but when you reframe it as excitement, it loses its power over you. You become unstoppable.